What happens when Hollywood grace meets morning show chaos? When composure breaks under the heat of live television, and the world watches as charm turns to fury. That's exactly what happened when Olivia Wilde sat across from Joy Behar on The View. A moment meant to promote unity and art spiraled into one of the most talked-about clashes in daytime television history. Because what you're about to hear, you wouldn't believe if there weren't cameras rolling. The morning had started like any other broadcast. The set glowed in warm tones, the audience murmured with anticipation, and Olivia Wilde, poised in a sleek navy suit, smiled gently as the hosts welcomed her. She had just released a new indie film, one that had critics whispering about her comeback. Joy Behar, never one to hold back, leaned forward in her chair with that signature mischievous grin. "So, Olivia," Joy began, her voice dripping with casual curiosity, "you've been through quite a lot these past couple of years. Between the movie drama, the breakups, the headlines, how do you even keep it together?" The audience chuckled softly, sensing the edge in the question. Olivia's smile stiffened, just barely. "I focus on my work," Olivia said, her tone controlled but tight. "When you put your energy into something meaningful, the noise fades away." But Joy wasn't done. "Right, but come on," Joy pressed, waving her hand dismissively. "People don't just ignore what's out there. You had tabloids calling you everything under the sun. You must have seen the stuff, the custody papers, the drama with your ex. That wasn't just noise, was it?" The crowd reacted with a mix of gasps and nervous laughter. The camera caught Olivia's jaw tighten. She glanced briefly at Sunny Hostin, who looked uncomfortable, then back at Joy. "I think it's pretty unfair to reduce a woman's life to gossip headlines," Olivia replied sharply. "Especially when that same energy isn't given to men in this industry." Joy raised her eyebrows. "Oh, come on, honey. We call out the guys too. You think I go easy on them?" The tension in the air was electric. Even the other co-hosts shifted uneasily in their seats. Whoopi Goldberg cleared her throat, trying to steer the conversation back to the movie, but Joy leaned in again. "Let's be honest," she said, half smiling. "If you didn't want people talking, maybe you shouldn't have dated another actor right after all that drama." The room froze. The audience gasped audibly this time. Olivia blinked once, her eyes narrowing slightly, and that's when the spark turned to fire. "You know what's interesting, Joy?" she said quietly, voice low but cutting. "You talk about women's empowerment, about respecting boundaries, and yet here you are, turning a woman's private life into entertainment." A murmur rippled through the studio. Joy chuckled nervously, trying to deflect. "Oh, lighten up, Olivia. This is The View. We talk about real life here." Olivia leaned back, crossed her legs, and smiled. But it wasn't the kind of smile that reached her eyes. "No, you talk about other people's lives," she said. "You don't talk about the cost of being constantly dissected. You don't know what it's like to have your children read headlines about their mother written by people who don't even know her." The air felt heavy. Even Whoopi looked unsure whether to intervene. Joy tried to laugh it off, but Olivia continued, her voice growing more impassioned. "I came here to talk about my film, about something I worked incredibly hard on. But instead, I'm being asked to defend my personal choices on national television. That's not journalism. That's voyeurism." The audience clapped. It wasn't everyone, but enough to make Joy shift in her seat. "Okay," Joy said, chuckling awkwardly. "You're feisty today." "I'm honest today," Olivia shot back. "Maybe that's what makes people uncomfortable." Silence. Then a ripple of applause. The producers could be seen gesturing off camera, trying to decide whether to cut to commercial. But the show was live, and there was no turning back now. Sunny Hostin stepped in, her voice calm. "Olivia, I actually appreciate what you're saying," she said. "Women in the public eye are held to different standards. I felt that too." Olivia nodded appreciatively, but Joy interjected again. "Look, I wasn't attacking you. I was just saying what people are thinking." "And that," Olivia replied sharply, "is the problem. We excuse cruelty by calling it curiosity." The crowd applauded again, louder this time. The camera caught Joy forcing a smile, but her jaw was tight. The chemistry between them had shifted from tense to combustible. As the applause settled, Olivia took a breath. "You can be funny, Joy," she said evenly, "without being cruel." That line landed like a hammer. The room fell into stunned silence before erupting in gasps and a few claps from the audience who couldn't help but cheer for the confrontation they were witnessing. Joy Behar, live on air, looked genuinely taken aback. Her smile faltered for the first time, and she stared at Olivia like she hadn't quite processed what had just been said. Whoopi finally raised her hands. Okay, ladies, let's take a break before we start throwing coffee mugs. The crowd laughed nervously, but it didn't ease the tension. Olivia Wilde sat there, calm but blazing with conviction, her eyes steady on Joy. As the camera cut to commercial, the last thing viewers saw was Joy turning away, muttering something under her breath, and Olivia, still unmoved, powerful, sitting in her chair like she had just drawn a line that couldn't be uncrossed. The View had seen its share of heated debates before. But this was different. It wasn't politics. It wasn't jokes. It was personal. And when the cameras came back, Olivia Wilde was not done. The commercial break was supposed to cool things down. It didn't. Behind the cameras, producers huddled with headsets, whispering rapid instructions. Crew members pretended to busy themselves, but every eye in the studio darted toward the guest table. Olivia Wilde sat composed, sipping from her water glass, while Joy Behar leaned back, half laughing with a stagehand. The kind of laugh that said she was rattled but trying to hide it. When the red light blinked back on, the tension was practically humming. The audience quieted. Whoopi Goldberg straightened her cue cards. "We're back," she said, her tone measured. And things got a little heated before the break. The audience chuckled awkwardly. Whoopi continued. "But you know that's the View. Strong women, strong opinions." She turned to Olivia with a diplomatic smile. "So, Olivia, tell us about this film you're promoting. I know it's a passion project for you." Olivia nodded slowly, exhaling as if resetting herself. "It is," she said. "It's about resilience, actually. About a woman trying to reclaim her voice after being silenced by the world around her." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Joy smirked. "Sounds familiar," she muttered into her mic. The audience reacted with uneasy laughter. Olivia turned her gaze toward Joy, calm but steely. "You'd be surprised how many people think they're helping women find their voice, while really just talking over them." Gasps. Sunny Hostin's eyes widened slightly. Sarah Haynes pressed her lips together. Joy tried to respond, but faltered for a moment. The audience reaction threw her off balance. Okay, Joy said finally, forcing a grin. "I see what's happening here. You're flipping this into a TED Talk, huh?" "I'm just telling the truth," Olivia replied, voice low and unwavering. "It's funny how honesty makes people uncomfortable." The audience clapped again, this time with conviction. Olivia leaned forward, her composure returning, and the camera zoomed in, the kind of close-up that television producers dream of. "You know," she continued, "women are told to smile through disrespect, to laugh off invasive questions. But that's not strength. That's performance. And I'm tired of performing." Her voice trembled slightly, not with weakness but intensity. You could hear the conviction in her tone. Even Joy seemed taken aback, her eyes darting toward Whoopi, who was quietly studying the exchange. "I wasn't trying to disrespect you," Joy said, her tone softening just a bit. "We joke here, we tease, that's part of the show." Olivia's gaze didn't waver. "There's a difference between teasing and belittling," she said. "And when women call that out, they're labeled emotional or overreacting. I'm just tired of pretending that's normal." The audience erupted into applause, a wave that filled the studio. Even some of the co-hosts clapped along. Joy sat still, her smile fading completely now. The red light of the camera stayed locked on her face, and she knew it. All right, Whoopi said, stepping in again with her trademark calm. "We've all had our share of moments here. I've been in that chair too, Olivia. This show has seen it all. So let's move forward." But Olivia wasn't finished yet. She smiled politely. "Sure, we can move forward. But maybe we should start by asking why women still have to fight this hard to be treated with basic respect, even by other women." That line hit like thunder. Gasps, murmurs, then a deep, stunned silence. Even Joy's usual quick wit abandoned her. She glanced down at her notes, visibly frustrated. The camera panned to Olivia, calm, elegant, and unflinching. You could feel the audience's emotional shift. What started as a tense interview had turned into something deeper. Something raw. Olivia wasn't just defending herself. She was channeling something collective. Sarah finally broke the silence, her voice gentle. "Olivia, I think a lot of people watching probably relate to that. Feeling like they're constantly explaining or defending themselves." Olivia nodded, softening a little. "Exactly. I think a lot of women have that moment, when they realize they've been smiling through disrespect just to be liked. And when you stop doing that, people call you difficult." The audience applauded again, longer this time. Joy sighed audibly, half into her mic. Well, I guess I'm the villain today, she said with a sarcastic smile. Olivia shook her head. You're not the villain, Joy. You're just saying what too many people think, that a woman's worth is still tied to how well she handles being disrespected. Even Whoopi couldn't help but nod at that. The room was utterly still, save for the occasional murmur from the audience. It was rare, almost historic, to see someone push back this boldly, live on air, against one of television's most unshakable personalities. Then, as if to reclaim control, Joy leaned forward, smiling tightly. Well, at least you're making headlines again, she said. You know how to stir the pot. Olivia's eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't flinch. If standing up for yourself makes headlines, she said evenly, then maybe we've been too quiet for too long. The audience burst into applause again, louder than before. It drowned out even the host's attempts to regain order. Whoopi finally signaled for a break, but the energy couldn't be contained. Because what had just unfolded wasn't just television drama. It was something bigger. It was a woman reclaiming the mic on live TV. As the segment faded out and the camera lights dimmed, the studio was electric. Audience members whispered to each other, some applauding, others stunned. Joy leaned back, exhaling hard. Olivia sat quietly, her eyes forward, as if daring the next question to come. But this confrontation wasn't over, not by a long shot. When they came back from break, the temperature in that studio would rise even higher. The break between segments felt endless. Even off-air, you could feel the static in the air, that strange electric stillness before lightning strikes. Crew members whispered to each other, some glancing nervously toward Joy and Olivia. Both women sat in their chairs, avoiding eye contact, their silence saying more than words ever could. Joy drummed her fingers on the table. Olivia adjusted her microphone, calm but visibly simmering. Whoopi leaned toward the producers. This is going to go viral either way, she muttered, her voice just barely audible under the audience's restless murmurs. Then the red light blinked on. The cameras were live again. Welcome back to The View, Whoopi said, her voice steady but firm. We're continuing our conversation with Olivia Wilde. The audience clapped half-heartedly, unsure whether to brace for more tension or relief. Joy smiled, that signature, practiced grin that had carried her through decades of heated moments. All right, Olivia, she said, her tone deceptively light. Let's just clear the air here. I didn't mean to upset you. You're a talented woman, and I think the world admires your strength. But you've got to admit, sometimes you play into the drama. There it was, the line that reignited everything. Olivia blinked once, slowly, then looked directly at Joy. Play into it? She repeated softly. Do you think anyone wants to be ridiculed on a global stage? You think it's fun watching your private life turned into a punchline? Joy shrugged. Well, it comes with the territory, doesn't it? You're a public figure. People talk. That's an excuse, Olivia shot back, her voice suddenly rising. That's the excuse people use to dehumanize others. Just because someone's in the public eye doesn't mean they stop deserving respect. The crowd murmured. You could hear the tension, the sound of hundreds of people holding their breath. Joy leaned in, unflinching. You know what, Olivia? You've been through a lot, and maybe you're sensitive right now. But we're just doing what The View always does, talking about what people are talking about. Olivia's lips tightened. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe we should stop rewarding cruelty by calling it conversation. That line hit hard. The audience gasped, a collective, audible reaction that echoed across the studio. Sunny Hostin tried to step in again, but the chemistry between Joy and Olivia had become its own storm. Joy's smile faltered for the first time. Her eyes narrowed slightly, her tone sharpening. You know, I've sat at this table for over 25 years, Joy said, her voice rising. I've interviewed presidents, activists, movie stars, and they all know how this show works. You don't come here expecting silence. You come here ready to talk. Maybe you're just not cut out for that. The crowd fell completely silent. You could almost hear the heartbeat of the studio. Olivia's eyes flickered, not with anger now, but something deeper. Hurt. She leaned in slightly. Maybe what I'm not cut out for, she said softly, is pretending that being torn apart is entertainment. Maybe that's what we should all stop being cut out for. Applause erupted, wild, spontaneous, emotional. The audience was with her. Joy's jaw tightened, her knuckles tapping the desk. Oh, please, she snapped suddenly. Don't act like you're some kind of martyr. You've done your fair share of playing the media game. You knew what you were signing up for. Olivia didn't even blink. No one signs up to be disrespected, Joy. Not by strangers. and certainly not by women who should know better. That last phrase cut through the room like a blade. Whoopi closed her eyes, muttering under her breath, "Lord, help me," as the audience reacted with a mix of gasps and scattered cheers. Olivia continued, voice trembling with conviction. "Every time a woman tears another woman down on national television, we set the conversation back years. You can be funny, you can be tough, but when it comes at the expense of empathy, that's not power. That's weakness." The crowd roared, clapping, shouting, some even standing. Joy shook her head, visibly frustrated. "I've made a career out of saying what I think," she fired back. "And if that makes people uncomfortable, good. That's my job." Olivia leaned closer, her voice quiet but icy. "Maybe your job should be making people think, not just making them uncomfortable." The room exploded again in applause. You could see Joy's composure slipping now. Her face flushed slightly, her lips tightening as she forced another smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. All right, Whoopi interjected, her voice rising. "We're not turning this into a cage match, ladies. Let's all take a breath." But the audience was hooked. The energy was uncontainable. Phones were already out, capturing the moment that was about to define the day's headlines. Joy exhaled sharply, looking Olivia straight in the eye. "You know what? You're good, Olivia. You really are. You came here with an agenda, and congratulations, you got your viral moment." Olivia didn't even flinch. "If standing up for yourself is an agenda," she said, her tone calm and resolute, "then I hope every woman watching today finds the courage to have one." That was it, the line that broke the room. The audience jumped to their feet, clapping, cheering, even shouting Olivia's name. It was no longer just an interview. It was a moment of reckoning. Joy looked stunned, momentarily speechless, a rare thing for a veteran like her. Whoopi gestured for another break, her face a mask of weary amusement and awe. As the music swelled and the camera panned out, Olivia sat back, composed once again. The fire in her eyes had softened, not into smugness, but into something quieter, prouder. The red light went off. The studio erupted in whispers and movement, but Joy stayed silent, staring down at the table. Olivia leaned toward her just slightly and said, barely audible, "I didn't come here for viral moments, Joy. I came here for honesty." And then she leaned back again, unbothered. The audience, even off camera, kept applauding long after the segment cut. But what no one in that studio realized yet was that this exchange wasn't just going to dominate the day's headlines. It was about to ignite a wildfire across social media, morning shows, and celebrity circles worldwide. The next 24 hours would change everything. The cameras faded to black, but the tension didn't. The audience began to stir, whispering as Olivia Wilde and Joy Behar sat motionless at the table. Joy forced a smile, trying to laugh off what had just happened, but her eyes betrayed her. Olivia remained still, hands folded neatly in front of her, a calm storm behind her gaze. When the show officially cut to its final outro, Whoopi Goldberg leaned into her mic, her tone steady but weary. "Well, that's live TV for you," she said, half laughing. "Never a dull moment here on The View." The audience chuckled softly, still unsure whether to clap or stay silent. But as the red light on the camera went out for the last time, everyone in the studio knew they'd just witnessed something that would echo far beyond those walls. Olivia stood, thanked the crew politely, and gave Joy a slight nod. Joy barely responded. The air between them was sharp, heavy. Whoopi just sighed, muttering under her breath, "Well, that's going to blow up online." And she was right. Within the hour, clips of the exchange hit social media like wildfire. One snippet, Olivia's calm but searing line, "You can be funny without being cruel," exploded across timelines. Another clip, showing Joy's tight-lipped reaction, racked up millions of views in minutes. Hashtags flooded Twitter. Hashtag Olivia Wilde on The View, hashtag Team Olivia, hashtag Team Joy. TikTok was the loudest. Users dissected every second of the moment, from Olivia's icy stare to Joy's forced laughter. Some called it a masterclass in composure. Others said Olivia had overreacted. But no one could look away. By evening, the headlines rolled in. Olivia Wilde takes down Joy Behar live on air. The View erupts, a moment that left even Whoopi speechless. Olivia Wilde's calm fury captivates America. News anchors replayed the confrontation, talk radio debated it, and late-night hosts joked about it. But underneath the jokes, everyone knew something deeper had happened, something raw. That night, Olivia posted on Instagram. No selfie. No behind-the-scenes photo. Just a simple black background with white text that read, "If honesty makes people uncomfortable, maybe that's where the truth begins." The caption said only, "Gratitude for the women who refuse to stay quiet." In less than an hour, the post had 1 million likes. Her comments section flooded with messages of support from fans and fellow celebrities alike. Florence Pugh, Emma Thompson, and even Reese Witherspoon liked the post. Women everywhere were sharing it, calling her words a moment of courage. Joy Behar, meanwhile, addressed it briefly the next morning on The View. Sitting at the table, her tone was casual, but the edge was still there. "We had a spirited discussion yesterday," she said with a smirk. "No hard feelings. It's live TV. I respect Olivia, even if she doesn't always return the favor." The audience laughed awkwardly. Whoopi smiled faintly but said nothing. Sunny Hostin glanced at her notes, unwilling to look directly at Joy. That clip, Joy's half-hearted response, reignited the debate online. People accused her of backpedaling. Others defended her right to stand her ground. But the narrative had already shifted. Olivia's calm, unapologetic stance had become a symbol. Talk shows, morning hosts, even online pundits began rethinking how far was too far when it came to spicy interviews. By the end of the week, Olivia appeared on a podcast where she finally spoke about what happened. Her voice was calm, deliberate. "I didn't set out to embarrass anyone," she said. "But I also wasn't going to let myself be cornered for entertainment. There's a difference between conversation and cruelty. I think we've blurred that line for too long." The interviewer nodded slowly. "Do you regret how it unfolded?" Olivia smiled faintly. "Not for a second. That clip alone hit 5 million views within 24 hours. And while Joy Behar continued hosting The View, that one moment, that one exchange, became a defining scene in the show's long, messy history. For many, it marked a shift. The day a guest refused to play along with the unspoken rules of daytime television. Olivia Wilde had walked onto that stage to promote her film, and walked off as the voice of something larger. The conversation she started didn't end in that studio. It rippled through social feeds, living rooms, and quiet coffee shop debates. It became less about Joy versus Olivia, and more about how women speak to, and about, each other when the cameras are rolling. And as the noise began to settle, Olivia posted once more, a photo of her walking out of the studio doors, sunlight hitting her face. The caption was just 3 words: "Still standing tall." The world had seen her snap, but what they really saw was her strength. Now, what about you? Whose side are you on? Did Olivia Wilde go too far, or was she simply standing up for herself? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget, subscribe to Talk Narrative for more powerful, dramatic stories that bring Hollywood's biggest moments to life. Because sometimes the real drama isn't scripted.